All right. Good evening, everybody. Let me just adjust my screen here so I can see the side chat. I feel like I'm getting a little bit better at the opening here. How's everybody doing? If we're going to be on a date, I need to button up here a little bit. So, welcome. I'm Dr. Josh, Digital Hammurabi, and very excited to be here. Megan and kids are still away, and so how's the volume? I did get the mic, didn't I? Yeah, I think we're okay. Excuse me, sorry. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to go ahead and go live. I've been working on so what am I working on today? A lot of stuff. Did some work on Daniel, and spent a lot of time. I did the next Sumerian episode or lesson, so I have two Sumerian lessons left. One now. I'm finishing the editing of it, and then we can get those done. Get the book edited. Hi guys. Sorry, I'm just looking over at the side chat here. I can never tell how many people we have watching, but looks like a lot in here. How you guys doing? Vibrantly Brantley, I'm going to be promoting you guys on Neil's channel during this stream by wearing a Digital Hammurabi shirt. I won't be able to be here. Neil, do I know who Neil is? I feel like I should. That's awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. Gemma Scout, how are you? You say you got a shirt. That's really awesome. What's in the background? It's a good question. I was trying to find mountains in Iran, and I think that's what I found. Because tonight we are going to be in our book club doing the story of Lugalbanda. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. And it takes place in the mountains. So I thought it was a good background. Hi, Dr. Bowen from Iron Charioteer. And Jim Majors, looking spiffy for the hot date. Thank you very much. And I have my my beer. What are we drinking? Drinking Dogfish Head 60-minute IPA, Indian Pale Ale. So yeah. Richard Madsen, your hairstyle is very interpretive post-military. That is interesting date talk. Yes. It's funny because I remember asking Megan, look, do you want me to grow my hair a little bit longer? Is that something you'd like? And I said, because I've always just, done the high and tight. Because that's just what I do. And she said, yeah, I really like it, high and tight. But I don't know. I feel like she's probably just being nice. So I figured I'd grow it out a little bit. So, I guess a couple of little house... a hot date in the middle of the mountains, native atheist. Yes, that's what we're going for. Actually, a lot of bad stuff happens in the mountains in this first one. Good. Gemma Scout says, all is well. Awesome. So we did a stream last night. Skylar and I did on digital fiction. If you haven't seen it, check it out. We did it initially, live, and then Skylar wanted to edit it down a little bit. So he edited it and made it a little more, I don't know, easy to listen to or watch or whatever. So it is back up. Math Magic Pagan. At Digital Hammurabi totally jumped from Quiplash. Man, for the Digital Hammurabi love. Thank you. I don't know what Quiplash is. Man, I don't know anything. Yes, that should be the Zagros mountain range. I don't remember exactly which one, but yes. Good Eye. Good Eye. I don't know if you guys ever watch Brian Regan. Good Eye, Brian. If nobody knows that, that's not terribly funny. Okay. So tonight, I thought that we would talk about and read the story of Lugalbanda. Now, I've done a summary of this on our channel. And, you know what? I completely forgot what I was saying. We did a stream last night responding to Oh, Mr. Atheist. Oh man, sorry, Jimmy. Damn it. I need to look at who's doing what when I do these streams. I looked at the clock and thought, let me do it at 9 because it's 8. And I need more than a half hour to set up OBS. God, I'm a terrible person. So last night we did a response to a guy who really didn't like our presentation on Old Testament slavery. So that's up there, and so definitely check that out. And Tom 34, am I really out there in the wilderness? Nope. I'm sitting here in my bedroom. I'm really glad that it's a date night in my bedroom. The bed's not made, which is why I really like green screen, because you can't tell that. So yes. That is up on Digital Fiction, and I think on Monday we are going on to James's channel. Oh boy, Modern Day Debate, to talk to Red Pill Religion and somebody else. Skylar and I are going on there, so that should be interesting. Megan thinks I'm crazy. I guess I am, but Skylar asked, did I think I think it'll be cool. I don't really have to do anything in those debates anyway. Like Skylar just takes care of it, so I can just kind of mute and sit back. Okay, so we are premiering the slavery video. I know I've talked about that on the channel a lot. We're premiering that on Monday. I don't know what time. It'll probably be like 6-ish, something like that, because I do have the thing with Red Pill. But I think it's only like a 27-minute video, so it's not crazy long. Might not even be that long, to tell you the truth. Okay. At Digital Hammurabi from Maynard Saves is Hebrew. What is the word they use in Genesis as R, as in our image? It would just be a suffix, anu. So it's probably like Salmenu or something, our image. I mean, I can look. Demutenu. Is that what it is? Demut? Man. Having to dig deep if I'm trying to remember what from likenesses, but I think it's Demut. Anyway. Yes, a date with Inanna. Better watch out for Dumuzi. Actually, it's probably the other way around. Like I kind of feel like what's Dumuzi gonna do? It's Inanna, but you don't want to piss Inanna off. So, Elias fake name. You should have a cat licking itself on the bed on the green screen for a true Digital Hammurabi effect. This is true. This is true. Okay. All right, I guess we can just get started. Sorry, I was just looking at the side chat, make sure I didn't miss anything. So, if you would like to follow along, we are going to be reading, hopefully, I'm going to try to get through both, but there's a 2-part, it's actually part of like a 4-part cycle, but, sorry, I definitely can't do 2 things at once. The Lugalbanda stories are on the electronic text corpus of Sumerian literature. And you know what? If you search on, I'll put in the side chat, ETCSL. Actually, I think I can just type it out. God, I'm so challenged. ETCSL. There's probably a way that I can cut and paste this, but yeah, if you go there, no, that's not right. ETCSL. Goddamn autocorrect. No, I don't want to type Excel. Full dog mark ass trick. Okay, I don't know if you guys watch oh, that would have been Don't Be a Menace to South Central, Drinking Your Juice in the Hood. I don't know if anybody watches that. It's an old movie with the Wayans brothers. No, that's not Megan in the chat. She's asleep. She's what time would it be there? What time is it in the UK? 2 a.m. Yeah. So I think she got Oliver down and she's taking advantage of it. So okay. So we are going to be on ETCSL and we are going to be reading about Lugalbanda. There are two stories, Lugalbanda and the Mountain Cave and Lugalbanda and the Anzu Bird. The big addition that was done on this text, the major work was done by Wilka Lugalbanda Epos. It's a work in German, Das Lugalbanda Epos. And I think that he argues, if I'm remembering correctly, that it's part of the same story, just broken. But they're divided up here into two different stories. So we are going to try to get through both. Let me summarize them briefly here so that you can know what you're getting yourself into. They are long stories, long-ish anyway. The first, Lugalbanda is part of, he's part of the army. One of this is like a special part of the army of the king Enmerkar over Uruk in Mesopotamia. And they're marching out to the east to go do battle against the city of Arata. And sorry, I haven't read this story in a while, so this is all just sort of pulling it from memory here. So forgive me if I get any details wrong. But on the way out, he's one of the 8. I think there are 8 total, these special warriors. And on the way out, he falls very, very ill in the mountains. And they think that he's going to die. So they put him in a cave and they give him, they set all this food and drinks and offerings and whatever around him, essentially as a, like a funerary rite, because they think he's going to die. Well, he spends the night in the mountain cave. He sees different deities. We'll talk about them as we go through the story. And Banda means like small. See that in the side chat there. What was I saying? Damn it. Anyway, so he's in the mountain cave, and the gods, he cries out to the gods, and the gods rescue him. So there's a whole storyline. In the morning, he goes out and he does these things to show himself the pious and holy Lugalbanda. Interesting note about the Sumerian there are only a few times that the adjective holy is used before the noun, and Lugalbanda is one of them that gets it, so it's sort of special. So that's like the first part. The second part, if we get to that, is Lugalbanda and the Anzu bird. And so you got to think he's gone through this terrible, terrible illness, and the gods have brought him through. And now he finds himself in the mountains, and he's trying to get back to his army so that he can help Enmerkar fight and defeat Arata. And he finds the nest of the Anzu bird. Now, the Anzu bird is gone, out probably hunting or something, but the Anzu chick is in the nest. And so it seems strange, but he like decorates, like puts makeup on the Anzu chick and gives it really good food and like spruces up the nest, makes it really awesome. And then the Anzu bird comes back and is so excited that he says to Lugalbanda, ask what you want, I'll give it to you. And Lugalbanda says, I want speed, and I want to be indefatigable. So I want to be able to run, not get tired, and run really, really fast, because he wants to get to the army. Right? So anyway, the Anzu bird grants him this. He runs, he gets to the army, and it seems kind of anticlimactic, because they get to the army and they're stuck. Like they march up against Arata and they can't get in. And so Enmerkar essentially wants to, go back and ask Inanna back at Uruk what to do. And so Lugalbanda says, I'll go. I'm wicked fast. So he does. He runs back, and I'll leave the end of the story for us to get to it. Hopefully we will. So that's sort of the breakdown of the text. So the stories, the two Lugalbanda stories, are part of like there are four 𝀭stories, right? It's sort of a, they're not really Lugalbanda stories per se, even though Lugalbanda is definitely the main character here in these first two, but they sort of focus on the king 𝀭. So you have Lugalbanda in the Mountain Cave, Lugalbanda in the Anzu Bird, 𝀭 and the Lord of Arata, which is a very important story. It talks about the creation of writing, the invention of writing. And then 𝀭 and 𝀭Support. I can't remember if Filka reads that differently now. I learned it as 𝀭Support. I think he might read it in 𝀭Girnana or Girana. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Sumerian stuff. Anyway, so but 𝀭 is also a leading character in all four of these texts. So there you go. We're gonna read the first two and talk about Lugalbanda on our hot date night. What could be better than a hot date night? So even back then, Yami Yamizuki, even back then, chicks loved makeup. How appropriate for tonight. I do not affirm such gender roles. Actually, I'll let Megan talk about that. Okay, Lugalbanda and the Mountain Cave. Again, like in other Sumerian literary texts, there's sort of an introduction that seems a little strange to us today. So it's going to take a minute to get through it before we actually get to what we would consider like the interesting story. When in ancient days heaven was separated from earth, when in ancient days that which was fitting, when after the ancient harvests barley was eaten, when boundaries were laid out and borders were fixed, when boundary stones were placed and inscribed with names, when dikes and canals were purified, when wells were dug straight down, when the bed of the Euphrates, the plenteous river of Uruk, was opened up, when holy On removed, when the offices of En and king were famously exercised at Uruk, when the scepter and staff of Kulaba were held high in battle, Inanna's game, when the black-headed were blessed with long life in their settled ways and when they presented the mountain goats with pounding hooves and the mountain stags beautiful with their antlers to 𝀭, son of Utu. Now at that time the king set his mace towards the city. 𝀭, the son of Utu, prepared an expedition against Arata, the mountain of the holy divine powers. There's this great rivalry between Uruk and Arata, and it's sort of the focus of all four of these texts. The Lugalbanda and the Mountain Cave, Lugalbanda and the Anzu Bird, 𝀭 and the Lord of Arata, and 𝀭 and 𝀭Support. The two kings are rivaling for Inanna's affection and for supremacy, and so it's sort of the background to all four of these stories. So he's getting ready to go set off to take on Arata again. Cheers, 𝀭. Oh, you know what? I see the word mods. Wait, I don't have too many mods, do I? Damn it. I don't know how to do that. Sorry, guys. I really would assign a lot of you whatever mod status. I just don't know how to do it. That's why we have Megan. Okay. He was going to set off to destroy the rebel land. The Lord began a mobilization of his city. The herald... Oh, God. Siri. Quiet, you. The herald made the horn signal sound in all the lands. Now levied Uruk took the field with the wise king. Indeed, levied Kulaba followed 𝀭. Uruk's levy was a flood. Kulaba's levy was a clouded sky. You hear this, just by the way, to point this out. There's a lot that's been written on Hebrew poetry, and you see this. Psalm 119 is sort of the standard that everybody goes to. Your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. That type of parallelism, they call it. It's not just in the Hebrew Bible. You can hear it here. This is sort of, a motif. Motif's not right. It's a style. Okay. Uruk's levy was a flood. Kulaba's levy was a clouded sky. As they covered the ground like heavy fog, the dense dust whirled up by them reached up to heaven. As if to rooks on the best seed rising up, he called to the people. Each one gave his fellow the sign. Their king went at their head to go at the army. Enmerkar went at their head to go at the army. 2 lines that are unclear. Emmer grain to grow abundantly. When the righteous one who takes counsel with Enlil, that is Enmerkar, took away the whole of Kulaba, like sheep they bent over at the slope of the mountains. At the edge of the hills they ran forward like wild bulls. He saw it at the side. They recognized the way. 5 days passed. On the 6th day they bathed. On the 7th day they entered the mountains. When they had crossed over on the paths, an enormous flood billowing upstream into a lagoon, their ruler, riding on a storm, interesting there, this idea of riding on the cloud, riding on the storm. Their ruler, riding on the storm, Utu's son, the good bright metal, stepped down from heaven to the great earth. His head shines with brilliance. The barbed arrows flash past him like lightning. At his side, the bronze-pointed axe of his emblem shines for him. He strides keenly with the pointed axe, like a dog set on consuming a corpse. At that time there were 7. There were 7. The young ones, born in Kulaba, were 7. The goddess Urash had borne these 7. The wild cow had nourished them with milk. They were heroes, living in Sumer. They were princely in their prime. They had been brought up eating at the god An's table. These 7 were the overseers for those that are subordinate to overseers, were the captains for those that are subordinate to captains, were the generals for those that are subordinate to generals. They were overseers of 300 men each. They were captains of 600 men each. They were generals of 7 shar of soldiers, 25,200 soldiers each. They stood at the service of the Lord as his elite troops. So this is this group that's in charge, that Lugalbanda is a part of. Sorry, just scrolling back through here. Yummy Zuki. This opening sounds a lot like the opening to the Chinese epic Journey to the West. Interesting. Flag tab is what kind of beer am I drinking? It is Dogfish Head 60-minute IPA. Just so everybody knows, I know I probably say this every time. Sometimes I can see when people ask me questions when they're not, when they're just in the chat. But if you need me to see something, please put that at Digital Hammurabi so it makes it red on my end. Okay. Lugalbanda, the 8th of them, was washed in water. In awed silence he went forward. He marched with the troops. When they had covered half the way, a sickness befell him there. Head sickness befell him. He jerked like a snake, dragged by its head with a reed. His mouth bit the dust like a gazelle caught in a snare. No longer could his hands return the hand grip. No longer could he lift his feet high. Neither king nor contingents could help him. In the great mountains, crowded together like a dust cloud over the ground, they said, "Let them bring him to Uruk." But they did not know how they could bring him. Let them bring him to Kulaba. But they did not know how they could bring him. As his teeth chattered in the cold places of the mountain, they brought him to a warm place there. Beach price, 25,000, numbers inflated. I'd have to look. I suspect that it's a Sumerian word there. Why is my thing no longer working? Oh, come on. Okay, good. Yeah, I'd have to take a look. All right, line 87. A storehouse. They made him an arbor like a bird's nest, dates, figs, and various sorts of cheese. They put sweet meats suitable for the sick to eat in baskets of dates, and they made him a home. They set out for him the various fats of the cow pen, the sheep's fold, fresh cheese, butter, as if laying a table for the holy place, the valued place, and they have a note here, that is as a funerary offering. Directly in front of the table they arranged for him beer for drinking, mixed with date syrup and rolls with butter. Provisions poured into leather buckets, provisions all put into leather bags. His brothers and friends, like a boat unloading from the harvest place, placed stores by his head in the mountain cave. They water in their leather water skins, dark beer, alcoholic drink, light emmer beer, wine for drinking which is pleasant to the taste, they distributed by his head in the mountain cave, as on a stand for water skins. They prepared for him incense resin, aromatic resin, Lugalbanda resin, first-class resin on pot stands in the deep hole. They suspended them by his head in the mountain cave. They pushed into place at his head his axe, whose metal was tin, imported from the Zubi mountains. They wrapped up by his chest his dagger of iron, imported from the Gig, the Black Mountains. His eyes, irrigation ditches because they are flooding with water, holy Lugalbanda kept open, directed towards this. The outer door of his lips, overflowing like holy Utu, he did not open to his brothers. When they lifted his neck, there was no breath there any longer. His brothers, his friends, took counsel with one another. If our brother rises like Utu from bed, then the god who has smitten him will step aside and, when he eats this food, when he drinks this, will make his feet stable. So notice, this idea that there's a personal god that's, responsible for this. May he bring him over the high places of the mountains to brick-built Kulaba. So the idea, you see it here, even which makes sense. Sorry, there's a question there. Ligidba, resin, NQ25. Ligidba. Trying to think of that. They've got it in transliteration here. I'm trying to think of what it would be. Anyway, I can look. But they're anticipating here that if he does get well, which he probably won't, he's going back to Uruk. Right, he's certainly not going to keep going. God,
there, Josh.
What is it that I see? I wonder if I can, like make my phone respond to like, Rasputin or something. Like, hey Rasputin. So I feel like I don't say Rasputin all that often. Actually, I probably say Rasputin more than I say a lot of names. Anyway, sorry. My phone just keeps beeping at me. That was lame. I apologize profusely. Okay. But if Utu calls our brother to the holy place, the valued place, like he dies, the health of his limbs will leave him. Then it will be up to us, when we come back from Arata, to bring our brother's body to brick-built Kulaba. Like the dispersed holy cows of Nana, as with a breeding bull when, in his old age, they have left him behind in the cattle pen, his brothers and friends abandoned holy Lugalbanda in the mountain cave. And with repeated tears and moaning, with tears, with lamentation, with grief and weeping, Lugalbanda's older brothers set off into the mountains. Then 2 days passed, during which Lugalbanda was ill. In these 2 days, half a day was added. As Utu turned his glance towards his home, as the animals lifted their heads toward their lairs, at the day's end in the evening cool, his body was as if anointed with oil, but he was not yet free of his sickness. When he lifted his eyes to heaven, to Utu, he wept to him as if to his own father. In the mountain cave he raised to him his fair hands. Utu, I greet you. Let me be ill no longer. Hero, Ningal's son, I greet you. Let me be ill no longer. Utu, you have let me come up into the mountains in the company of my brothers. In the mountain cave, the most dreadful spot on earth, let me be ill no longer. Here, where there is no mother, where there is no father, there is no acquaintance, no one whom I value. My mother is not here to say, alas, my child. My brother is not here to say, alas, my brother. My mother's neighbor who enters our house is not here to weep over me. If the male and female protective deities were standing by, the deity of neighborliness would say, a man should not perish. A lost dog is bad, a lost man is terrible. On the unknown way at the edge of the mountains, Utu is a lost man, a man in an even more terrible situation. Don't make me flow away like water in a violent death. Don't make me eat saltpeter as if it were barley. I can't read saltpeter anymore without thinking back to that discussion that I had on the Non Sequitur show. Richard Madsen, try Rumpelstiltskin, classic uncommon name. Good call. Don't make me fall like a throw stick somewhere in the desert unknown to me, afflicted with a name which excites my brother's scorn. Let me be ill no longer. So, he doesn't want to die in this place alone. It's just a terrible, terrible thing. Anyway. Afflicted with the derision of my comrades, let me be ill no longer. Let me not come to an end in the mountains like a weakling. Utu accepted his tears. He sent down his divine encouragement to him in the mountain cave. So, we'll talk about this here in a minute, but he's going to pray to certain deities. I want you to see if you can pick up the pattern. So he's just talked to Utu. Now, if you know already, don't spoil it for everybody. That wouldn't be good on our first date like this. She who makes for the poor, whose game, battle, is sweet, the prostitute who goes out to the inn, who makes the bedchamber delightful, who is food to the poor man, Inanna, the evening star, the daughter of Suin, arose before him like a bull in the land. Her brilliance like that of holy Shara, her stellar brightness illuminated for him the mountain cave. When he lifted his eyes upwards to Inanna, he wept as if before his own father. In the mountain cave he raised to her his fair hands. Sorry, I just saw some of the side chat. Inanna, if only this were my home, if only this were my city, if only this were Kulaba, the city in which my mother bore me. Even if it were to me as the wasteland to a snake, if it were to me as a crack in the ground to a scorpion, my mighty people, the great ladies, to Aeana. Sorry, it's broken there. The little stones of it, the shining stones in their glory, Sankal stones above. Below, from its crying out in the mountain land of Zabu, from its voice, open, may my limbs not perish in the mountains of the cypresses. Inanna accepted his tears. With power of life she let him go to sleep, just like the sleeping Utu. Inanna enveloped him with heart's joy, as if with a woolen garment. Then, just as if, she went to brick-built Kulaba. The bull that eats up the black soup, the astral holy bull calf, the moon, came to watch over him. He shines in the heavens like the morning star. He spreads bright light in the night. Suin is greeted as the new moon. Father Nana gives the direction for the rising Utu. The glorious Lord whom the crown befits, Suin, the beloved son of Enlil, the Lord reached the zenith splendidly. His brilliance like holy Shara, his starry radiance illuminated for him the mountain cave. When Lugalbanda raised his eyes to heaven to Suin, he wept to him as if to his own father. In the mountain cave he raised to him his fair hands. King whom one cannot reach in the distant sky, Suin whom one cannot reach in the distant sky. King who loves justice, who hates evil, Suin who loves justice, who hates evil. Justice bring brings joy justly to your heart. A poplar, a great staff, forms a scepter for you. You who loosen the bonds of justice, who do not loosen the bonds of evil. If you encounter evil before you, it is dragged away behind. When your heart becomes angry, you spit your venom at evil like a snake which drools poison. Sorry guys, my arm's acting up again. That's really annoying. Okay. Right. Okay. Suin accepted his tears and gave him life. He conferred on his feet the power to stand. A second time, as the bright bull rising up from the horizon, the bull resting among the cypresses, a shield standing on the ground, watched by the assembly, a shield coming out from the treasury, watched by the young men, the youth 𝀭 extended his holy splendor down from heaven. Holy, his brilliance illuminated for him from... He bestowed them on holy Lugalbanda in the mountain cave. His good protective god hovered ahead of him. His good protective goddess walked behind him. The god which had smitten him stepped aside, went up and away from him. When he raised his eyes heavenward to 𝀭, he wept to him as to his own father. In the mountain cave he raised to him his fair hands. I'll stop for just a second to check. Richard Madsen. Oh, I love it when you get all manly and dominant. More date talk. Thank you. Oh, gosh. Okay. Sorry. 𝀭, shepherd of the land, father of the black-headed. When you go to sleep, the people go to sleep with you. Youth 𝀭, when you rise, the people rise with you. To him who walks alone, you are his brotherly companion. 𝀭, you are the third of them who travel in pairs. You see this, by the way, picked up in other texts. If you remember when we read through the Epic of Gilgamesh, when we read through the Epic of Gilgamesh, you see that Shamash was the one. God.
I found something on the web about the Chumash was the one.
Oy vavoy. Damn it. All right, Epic of Gilgamesh. So, Shamash is the one that travels with them because he's going across the sky, right? And every day he goes across the sky. So, right. I probably didn't need to tell you that. You probably knew that. Anyway. Okay. Sorry. Youth 𝀭, when you rise, the people rise with you. 𝀭, without you, no net is stretched out for a bird. No slave is taken away captive. To him who walks alone, you are his brotherly companion. Oh, I read this already. Sorry. You are the blinkers for him who wears the neck ring. Like a holy Zulumchi garment, your sunshine clothes the poor man, and the scoundrel as well as him who has no clothes. As a garment of white wool, it covers the bodies, even of debt slaves. Like rich old men, the old women praise your sunshine sweetly until their oldest days. Your sunshine is as mighty as oil. Great wild bulls run forward. All right. There's a break. He causes the plow to stand in the... Praise to you is so very sweet, it reaches up to heaven. Hero, son of Ningal, they laud you as you deserve. Holy Lugalbanda came out from the mountain cave. Then the righteous one who takes counsel with Enlil caused life-giving plants to be born. So did you pick up on it? Who were the four deities that he prayed to? Started with 𝀭, went to Inanna, then to Nana, and then to 𝀭 again. So, did anybody... Sorry, I don't know if anybody actually wrote this in here. Did anybody pick up on that pattern? Everybody's gonna be like, yeah, I totally saw that. And so it's the sun, right? Utu, and then the evening star, Inanna, and then the moon that comes out, and then the sun again in the morning. So it's, the deities that are coming up throughout the night. Everybody's probably like, yeah, duh, Josh. Beach price, Inanna, the only one that matters. You are spot on. No. Yeah, Megan would like that comment. I agree. I love strong women. Okay. So Holy Lugalbanda, he comes out of the mountain cave, and by the way, if you guys have questions, it's interesting. I'll just pause for a second. Tonight, I thought I've been studying all day, and this is actually really relaxing for me. So I thought, what am I gonna? I want to do a stream. What should I talk about? And what I was gonna do, I was gonna do a ask me about what I believe. And I know that might seem silly because I've talked about it quite a bit here, but it still seems to get very confused by people no matter how much I talk about it. So I thought it might be good, and maybe I'll do that at another time, or maybe if we finish up this story and you guys want to do that for the second half of the stream, that's fine too. I mean, look, this is a date. We should be getting to know one another. So you guys let me know in the side chat. Just, tag me if you want to do that. Because I guess we're about halfway through the first story here. Okay. The rolling rivers, mothers of the hills, brought life-saving water. He bit on the life-saving plants. He sipped from the life-saving water. After biting on the life-saving plants, after sipping from the life-saving water, here he on his own... sorry. I can't hold the iPad up anymore, so it's sort of far from me. So anyway. Here on his own he set a trap in the ground, and from that spot he sped away like a horse of the mountains. Like a lone wild ass of Shakan, he darted over the mountains. Like a large, powerful donkey, he raced. A slim donkey, eager to run, he bounded along. So Lugalbanda has recovered pretty significantly here. That night in the evening, he set off, hurrying through the mountains, a wasteland in the moonlight. He was alone, and even to his sharp eyes, there was not a single person to be seen. With the provisions stocked in leather pails, provisions put in leather bags, his brothers and his friends had been able to bake bread on the ground with some cold water. Holy Lugalbanda had carried the things from the mountain cave. He set them beside the embers. He filled a bucket with water. In front of him, he split what he had placed. He took hold of the stones. Repeatedly, he struck them together. Its fire shone out for him over the wasteland like the sun. Not knowing how to bake cakes, not knowing an oven, with just 7 coals, he baked gizieshta dough. I'd like to know what that... When you transliterate stuff, it's like reading Hebrew in transliteration. Sometimes it's hard to tell, depending on how the transliteration is, what it is they're trying to represent. But notice he's starting a fire. Right, so there's a lot of not knowing something and being able to do it. This great wisdom, ingenuity, that sort of thing. Jim Majors, I'd love to get to ask questions about your beliefs. Okay, 1 vote for that. While the bread was baking by itself, he pulled up shulchi reeds of the mountains, roots and all, and stripped their branches. He packed up all the cakes as a day's ration. Not knowing how to bake cakes, not knowing an oven, with just 7 coals, he had baked gizieshta dough. He garnished it with sweet date syrup. A brown wild bull, a fine-looking wild bull, a wild bull tossing its horns, a wild bull in hunger, resting, seeking with its voice the brown wild bulls of the hills, the pure place. In this way, it was chewing aromatic shimgig as if it were barley. It was grinding up the wood of the cypress as if it were esparto grass. It was sniffing with its nose at the foliage of the 𝀭₌ shrub as if it were grass. It was drinking the water of the rolling rivers. It was belching from 𝀭₌, the pure plant of the mountains. While the brown wild bulls, the wild bulls of the mountains, were browsing about among the plants, Lugalbanda captured this one in his ambush. He uprooted a juniper tree of the mountains and stripped its branches. With a knife, holy Lugalbanda trimmed its roots, which were like the long rushes of the field. He tethered the brown wild bull, the wild bull of the mountains, to it with a halter. A brown goat and a buck goat, flea-bitten goats, lousy goats, fatty goats. In this way they were chewing aromatic shimgig as if it were barley. They were grinding up the wood of the cypress as if it were esparto grass. They were sniffing with their noses at the foliage of the 𝀭₌ shrub as if it were grass. They were drinking the water of the rolling rivers. They were belching from 𝀭₌, the pure plant of the mountains. While the brown goats and the buck goats were browsing about among the plants, Lugalbanda captured these two in his ambush. He uprooted the juniper tree of the mountains and stripped its branches. With a knife, holy Lugalbanda cut off its roots, which were like the long rushes of the field. With chains he fettered the brown goat and the buck goat, both the goats. Okay. Hey, Brack's in the side chat. Hey, Brack. I got your email, by the way. Sorry, I was sort of rushing to get the stream set up, but I got your email. Cool idea. We'll talk about it. Sorry. Inside thing between me and Brack. What was I saying? I don't remember. Oh well. He was alone, and even to his sharp eyes there was not a single person to be seen. Sleep overcame the king, Lugalbanda. Sleep, the country of oppression. It is like a towering flood, like a hand demolishing a brick wall, a hand raised high, a foot raised high, covering like syrup that which is in front of it, overflowing like syrup onto that which is in front of it. It knows no overseer, knows no captain, yet it is overpowering for the hero. And by means of Ninkasi's wooden cask, Ninkasi's the god of beer, sleep finally overcame Lugalbanda. It's interesting how I love reading these texts because you can see how they describe things that in such a poetic way that we're accustomed to. So talking about sleep, and of course it makes me, it's saying that sleep is like this unstoppable force. It's not governed by anyone, and it takes over and takes control and whatever. Makes me think of the Epic of Gilgamesh when he went to Utnapishtim. Interestingly, I was having a conversation last night with my dad, and he was telling me a story. Sorry, it's just sort of an aside here, but talking about sleep. So he said that he had a guy that worked for him, and the guy was, I guess he had some really late nights, and he left him on a job site to do something. And when he came back a couple hours later, the guy was like face down on the floor snoring. And he said, he's walking around and checking out the guy's work, and he finally walked over and he nudged him. And when he nudged him with his foot, the guy went, "Oh man, I just fell asleep." And it's just, I said to my dad, there's this story about Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh goes out to Utnapishtim, and he wants to know how to get eternal life. And he says, you know what? Utnapishtim says, "Look, I had the gods convene for me. Who's going to convene the gods for you? But you know what? Prove that you're worth anything here, that the gods might take note of it. Stay up for 7 days and 7 nights." And, so he tries to, and of course immediately falls asleep. And Utnapishtim says to his wife, "Hey, look, bake a loaf of bread, and every day put a loaf of freshly baked loaf of bread next to him, because it's the way of man. We're gonna when he wakes up, he's gonna He's going to go, oh, I just fell asleep. And that's, of course, what Gilgamesh says. No sooner had you touched me, or no sooner had I fallen asleep than you touched me. So, anyway, I don't know why. Because we're talking about sleep. That's why. Okay. Any questions in the side chat? Don't see anything. How many we got? How many people are watching right now? And how many likes do we have? I gotta remember to talk about that more. So if you haven't hit the like button, please do. If you haven't shared it out and you think it's worth sharing out, please do. And I will keep going. Okay, so sleep overtakes him with the help of Ninkasi. He's a drinking. And you know what? To Ninkasi. He laid out Ilinush, pure herb of the mountains, as a couch. He spread out a Zulumhi garment. He unfolded there a white linen sheet. There being no room for bathing, he made do with that place. The king lay down, not to sleep. He lay down to dream. Not turning back at the door of the dream, not turning back at the door pivot. To the liar, it talks in lies. To the truthful, it speaks truth. It can make one man happy. It can make another man sing. Why do I feel like that's a song? What am I thinking of? Power of Love. I'm thinking of what are the words? The Power of Love. It's in I'm thinking of Back to the Future. Make another man sing. Okay, anyway. Something's wrong with me. Okay. It can make one man happy, it can make another man sing, but it is the closed tablet basket of the gods. It is the beautiful bedchamber of Ninlil. It is the counselor of Inanna. The multiplier of mankind, the voice of one not alive. Zangara, the god of dreams, himself like a bull, bellowed at Lugalbanda. Like a calf of a cow he lowed. King of Chuck says he loves that song. So, okay, we got 51 watching and 37 likes. Thank you very much, DLJ. That's awesome. Who will slaughter a brown wild bull for me? Who will make its fat melt for me? He shall take my axe, whose metal is tin. He shall wield my dagger, which is of iron. Like an athlete, I shall let him bring away the brown wild bull, the wild bull of the mountains. I shall let him like a wrestler make it submit. Its strength will leave it. When he offers it before the rising sun, let him heap up like barley corns the heads of the brown goat and buck goat, both the goats. When he has poured out their blood in the pit, let their smell waft out in the desert, so that the alert snakes of the mountains will sniff it. Huey Lewis in the News. Thank you, Richard. For some reason, I thought it was White Snake. I'm just kidding. I didn't think that. I have absolutely the worst jokes, like no doubt. I can't think of worse jokes that I could have. Maybe I could. Yeah, change your heart to a little white dove. Yeah, you got it. You got it. Are those like? Aren't there lyrics that are make another man sing? Or maybe it's make one man weep, make another man sing. What were the lyrics? Or what were the lyrics? What were the words here? Make one man happy. Yeah, so not quite. Such a loser. Sorry. Okay. Lugalbanda awoke. It was a dream. He shivered. It was sleep. You hear this? Like, it's the same thing with Gilgamesh, right? He has these dreams on the way out to the cedar forest. Okay. He rubbed his eyes. He was overawed. He took his axe, whose metal was tin. He wielded his dagger, which was of iron. Like an athlete, he brought away the brown wild bull, the wild bull of the mountains. Like a wrestler, he made it submit. Its strength left it. He offered it before the rising sun. He heaped up like barley corns the heads of the brown goat and the buck goat, both of the goats. He poured out their blood in the pit so that their smell wafted out in the desert. The alert snakes of the mountains sniffed it. See? Fulfilled prophecy. Just kidding. As the sun was rising, Lugalbanda, invoking the name of Enlil, made An, Enlil, Enki, and Ninhursag sit down to a banquet at the pit, at the place in the mountains which he had prepared. The banquet was set, the libations were poured, dark beer, alcoholic beer, light emmer beer, wine for drinking, which is pleasant to the taste. Over the plain he poured cool water as a libation. He put the knife to the flesh of the brown goats, and he roasted the dark livers there. He let their smoke rise there like incense put on the fire. As if Dumuzi had brought in the good savors of the cattle pen, so An, Enlil, Enki, and Ninhursag consumed the best part of the food prepared by Lugalbanda. Like the shining place of pure strength, the holy altar of Suen, on top of the altar of Utu and the altar of Suen, he decorated the two altars with the lapis lazuli of Inanna. Suen, he bathed the Aankar. When he had bathed, he set out all the cakes properly. So he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do as a pious. You think about the role of the king. Think about the role of the priests, right? What they're supposed to do. They're supposed to, as part of this, ancient Near Eastern idea, care for the gods, right? Feed the gods. And so that's what he's doing. And he's doing it in an appropriate way, fulfilling this dream, that he had as the holy, pious, servant of the gods. And so that's what he's doing. The text is going to start to get a little sketchy here because it starts to break up. Yeah, I'll keep reading. It's okay. But before I do, I see a couple of comments. Yami Yamizuki, wait, he has iron weapons. When was this written? Yeah, this is a early second millennium text. That's a good question that I'll have to think about for a minute. I'm assuming it's... Yeah, let me think about that. That's a good question. If you haven't... Brack, is that video up? I don't know that video is up. I think it was just the... but you know what? It's just the intro, right? The 80s big hair. What is it? What is that 80s rock? Oh, I can't remember what it's called. What do they call it, Brack? Anyway, he says here, Huey Lewis mythicism. He was invented from this ancient text you are reading, LOL. Big hair. Big... All right, Brack, help me out here. What's it called? Brack did a video on arguing against mythicism. Or he's doing a video, but he's got the introduction. And hopefully he'll put in here. Oh, is that Paige? Hey, Paige. How you doing, sweetheart? It's PB3. Hair metal. That's what it is. Hair metal. She says, shoot, I've been discovered. How long have you been here, young lady? Let me see a couple of comments. Paige has been absolutely amazing. She's waiting for her new glasses to come in. It's very frustrating. They're not probably coming in till Tuesday, but she's very excited about them. And Paige, we're very happy to have you. Do you like my mountainous background? Enkidu 5, they all had big hair in the 80s. Indeed, they did. I was listening to... oh, boy. Can't remember. Something this morning. I sometimes tell Alexa to do 80s rock. So Paige has been here for 2 minutes. Cool. Well, this is an okay stream for you to be on because we're just reading a cool story. No other stuff that's you can't watch. Not that we really do anything that kids can't watch. Okay. Digital Hammurabi video title is The Hair Metal Fallacy. That's what it is. The Hair Metal Fallacy. Very interesting. So if you haven't seen that, is it just the preview that's up, Brack? Sorry, I'll get back to reading here in a second. Yeah, just the trailer. That's right. Still working on it. So when it comes out, it'll be it's going to be good. Brack's a very smart guy, and I'm looking forward to his argument. So, and yeah, Paige, I'm really glad you're here. Okay, so we're getting close, but again, it starts to get a little broken. So forgive me. They make Enki father of the gods. They are. So this is a description of these demons. Right, so if you're just joining us, like Paige, we're reading a story about this this guy Lugalbanda. It's a text about him getting sick in the mountains, and then the gods heal him, and now he's doing all these really pious things, these really religious things to support the gods, to show that he's a like a good ruler, good not ruler, but like a good leader. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so now there's a description of these demons. They are like a string of figs dripping with lusciousness. They hang their arms. They are gazelles of Suan running in flight. They are the fine, smooth cloths of Ninlil. They are the helpers of Ishkor. They pile up flax. They pile up barley. They are wild animals on the rampage. They descend like a storm on a rebel land hated by Suan. Indeed, they descend like a storm. They lie up during all the long day, and during the short night they enter houses. During the long day, during the short night, they lie in beds. They give. At dead of night, they, in the breeze, shallows of Utu. You know, it just gets kind of broken. But it's this long description of these demons. Okay, so that's like the first half of this two-part story about Lugalbanda. So here he's in the mountains, and he's just been healed. He's done all these sacrifices. He's done this banquet, and now this sets the scene for the second story, Lugalbanda and the Anzu bird. So let me just take a second and ask. We're about halfway through, or we're an hour in, and I was thinking I'd probably go about 2 hours. Do we want to save Lugalbanda, because that's one story? Do we want to save Lugalbanda and the Anzu bird for another stream, maybe like next Saturday, I'm not sure, and have the rest of this the next hour dedicated to you guys asking me questions about what I believe, like my faith, just because this has come up, or I guess any other questions that you might have that are pressing. But I know there was some interest in the side chat for that. I don't know if you guys would prefer that. So maybe let me know what you think in the side chat. And actually, you guys think about it for a second. I'm gonna go take my medicine to see if I can't get my arm to settle down a little bit. So I will be right back. Okay, I am back. Okay, so let me just look through the side chat and see. Okay. Yami Yamizuki, because has never been on a stream where you have been discussing anything less than child friendly. Yeah, that's. I don't think we really discuss a lot of stuff. That's it's just some of the stuff is, like the when we dressed up as porn stars. I don't know. Oh, thank you, Richard. I do brag about Paige a lot. This is true. Brag about all my kids, but I'm really proud of Paige. She's doing a fantastic job. Let's see. Okay. So I have a couple of votes here. I see. Yeah. Okay. I think we'll just do. Okay. Lieutenant Galloway does want Lugalbanda and the Anzu bird, but I think I do see more. Oops. What kind of doctor am I? I have a PhD in Assyriology from Johns Hopkins University. Richard said he laughed aloud with the elevator music. Yeah, I don't know what got into me, but I think it's funny. But I need to make people mods. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I got my PhD, graduated early 2017. Yeah, sorry. Glad you answered it already. Have you canna products in your state? Oh, I don't think so. Not really. I don't know much about. Sorry, I'm sort of I was an evangelical Christian for 30 years, so or 27. I don't remember. A long time. So we didn't really do. My tradition was not. We didn't do a lot of cannabis stuff. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I'm an OBGYN. Maybe. It's hard to tell. How do I become that type of doctor? So that's a good question. And actually, right, I'll answer that question real quick. Enkidu5, this is the MS. I have spasticity in my left arm. And yeah, so it just locks up in place, which is a lot of fun. Oh, no, don't be sorry, Chuck, King of Chuck. No, yeah, so this is, okay, yeah, we'll do an AMA. Okay, sorry. I'm rambling here a little bit. So go ahead and get your questions in. Specifically, if you have questions about like my religious background, or I went on and talked for a little over 2 hours to Matthias on his show Talking Doctrines. If you haven't seen that, I thought it was really a lot of fun. He's a really nice guy. Check it out. But again, even though I've talked about this a lot, I feel like there's still a lot of questions out there that people have. I still get called an atheist all the time, which is not a bad, like, that doesn't like offend me or something, but I just feel like maybe there's a lack of precision, maybe. And oh, thank you guys very much. It hurts, but I'm used to it. And yeah, anyway, it's not a big deal. Okay, so yeah, if you guys have questions about it, or if you have any other questions, I'm very happy to answer those as well. Let me look back up. You asked about how to get a PhD in Assyriology. How does one do something like that? Yeah, so I, generally speaking, people will go get a bachelor's degree, 4-year degree, and it doesn't have to be ancient Near Eastern related, but usually it is. Somebody will like go get a degree in the ancient Near East, and they'll focus in on Hebrew, or they'll focus in on Akkadian, or they'll focus in on something like that. The audio's off. Is it? Sorry, there's a comment that the audio is off. Can everybody hear me? Let me just check. The audio is off? It's coming through here. Sorry, Rembrandt. I think it's working. Okay. So I just assumed that if something's wrong with the computer, you can almost always assume it's me. Okay, so a lot of people go to like the University of Chicago. Hey, the messenger reveals. How are you? No, you're good, Rembrandt. And they'll go to a school like that and they'll get a bachelor's degree. A lot of people can go, they're good enough to go right out of a bachelor's degree into a PhD program. But I really didn't do well in high school. I goofed off quite a bit. And so it took me, if Paige is still listening, my 11-year-old, Daddy goofed off in high school, and so it took him a long time to make up for that after high school. So, don't goof off in high school. Anybody else that's listening, really work hard, because I had to take an extra, essentially 6-year master's degree to, get enough experience and consistency that I could show in my records under my belt. So that I could get accepted into a PhD program. So that's generally how it works. I went to seminary, so I focused in on Old Testament studies. I took 6 years of Greek or 7 years of Greek or whatever it was, 6 years, I guess. But I really focused in on Old Testament stuff, so Hebrew, Aramaic, Akkadian, those sorts of things, Semitic languages. And yeah, so then I went to Johns Hopkins. I was accepted to Johns Hopkins. Okay, John Kobu, when you had your live stream where you and Megan talked about your religiosity, she said that you have a great pre-agnostic dating story. Oh, I have great pre-agnostic dating stories. Yes, I can tell you. I think I talked about one actually on that live stream, on Matthias's live stream. And I talked about it kind of generally, but I'll talk about it in a little more detail here. So I wanted to, I was chatting online with a girl actually that my grandmother introduced me to. I went down to visit, and this was back in the days of like, it's post Juno, but it was still like, chat rooms were still like I don't think they were new, but when would this have been? I'd have been like 19. Anyway. And so she was in the other room, and she said, "Josh, come in here a second." So I came in there, and she said, "Here, sit down." So I sat down, and she said, "Talk to her." Okay. So anyway, that's how that was. This was a good Christian girl that I was talking to, and of course that was all that really mattered. And so we chatted for a while, and then I said, after a couple of weeks, I think it was, I said, we live like maybe an hour from each other. I said, and I said, you live really close to where my mother lives. Why don't we meet? And she said, "That sounds great. I'd love to meet, go on a date. Let me send you my father's phone number." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Why? You need to ask him if you can take me out on a date." I was like, "Okay, all right." Real quick, White Fiddle asks which seminary? A Capital Bible Seminary. Don't get scared if you look it up. They've fallen on hard times since I was there. So anyway, I called her father, and her father said, it was like on a Tuesday or something. I said, I come up to my mother's on the weekends, fair amount. I was in the military at the time. And I said, so, I was thinking I could come up on a Saturday or a Friday, maybe it was Friday, I don't know, and take her out, you know. And he said, tell you what, there's a pizza place right by our house. Meet me there at 5 p.m. Okay. So I drove up there, and I always had my Bible with me. And I said in the stream, it was this Bible, just my grandfather's old Bible. And I got up there, and he had a list of questions to ask me about the Bible, what I believed, everything from, did I know I was going to heaven, to, where did I fall on covenant theology versus dispensationalism, everything. We talked, I think it was till 10 o'clock. I mean, it was a long time, and they were closing. It was a Friday night, and they were closing. So at the end, I said, well, this has been great. So what do you think? And he goes, I think you're a great guy. Awesome. Well, maybe I'll just stop by tomorrow then and pick her up, And he said, nah, I need some time to think about this. So why don't you give me a call on Tuesday? I said, okay. So I went back and I called her, and she was obviously very upset, and said, you know what? Let's not get upset. Let's just stay above board. That was always my thing. Let's stay above board. Let's stay above board. So I called my grandfather, and he said, yep, you're doing the right thing. Just, call him on Tuesday. So I called him on Tuesday, and he said, why don't you meet me at the pizza place? I said, all right. Are you going to bring your daughter? And he said, no, just me and you again. All right. So I drove up there again on Friday. I met him at 5 o'clock, and he had a whole new list of questions. They were all about marriage and family. And we talked again until closing. And I mean, I went through everything about what I thought of dating and what I thought a marriage should be and how to raise children and everything, right? I have not met this girl yet, right? And so at the end of the night, I said, look, we've spent 10 hours together, roughly. And I feel like, he was very happy the whole time we were talking. He was very engaging. And I said, so, what about tomorrow? And he said, Josh, the thing is, I just don't know. I just don't know. Give me till Tuesday. All right. So I went back to my mother's house, and of course I called this girl, and she was furious. How can he do this? I don't understand. I said, if this is, what the Lord wants, then this will work out really well. Let's just be patient. Let's be patient. So on Tuesday, I called him again. And I said, so I'm just curious, have you come to any decision about whether I can date your daughter? And he said, oh, no, I decided within the first 20 minutes of us meeting 2 weeks ago that you could date her. I said, well, I don't understand. What have we been talking about? And he said, I'm deciding if you're the one that she's going to marry. Yeah. And you know what? That didn't seem crazy to me. So it seemed weird a bit, but after a little while, it was like, okay, I guess, because you date to marry. That's what you're doing. You don't just date for fun. So that's what I thought. So there you go. That's a fun one. Okay. Richard Madsen, question. The scene of awakening seems very reminiscent of the walk to Emmaus. Is that a version thereof? The scene of awakening. Oh, you mean in the story, in the Lugalbanda story? Is that what you're talking about? I'm going to wait to answer it clarify if you would, Richard, for me. Digital Hammurabi, DLJ, ask you anything? Okay, what are the best potatoes to use in a traditional Southern German style called 𝀭Support? Brown? Oh, no. Okay, I'm going to read through these because please do me a favor and tag me the Digital Hammurabi thing because it's hard for me to see. Sorry. Josh, are you familiar, Vlad Tebes, Josh, are you familiar with the 𝀭language? Yeah, I mean, I wrote a paper on the destruction of Mari using the, the text from 𝀭. I went to 𝀭, actually, when I was in Syria. It's pretty cool. They had the bricks that they'd made in the brick molds, like out in the, I've got pictures somewhere. But yeah, I mean, it's similar to Sumerian in that sense, but it's certainly not like well understood. But yeah. Nathan Bedford Forrest, you should have married that woman's father. Maybe. Okay. So I see that we're talking about schools here. Nathan Bedford Forrest, did he give you condoms? I'm sure there are Christian-themed condoms out there on the market. Ones with crosses on them. No. It was assumed, of course, that we were not going to have sex. Beach Price, I'm beginning to think the dad wants dates. Yeah, I mean, he was very thorough. Elias, fake name yet. He said he's heard this story. Nathan Bedford Forrest. If you were a Mormon, you could have had them both. All right. That might be an interesting topic to talk to Jimmy about, Mr. Atheist. What church was I raised in? White Fiddle. Raised in. I moved a lot as a kid. So actually, I don't remember specifically which churches. They were all like Baptist churches, most of them anyway. Like I went to Perry Hall Baptist Church in around Baltimore for a long time. That's where I went to high school, or went to church when I was in high school. And then, of course, when I pastored at a church out in Virginia, associate pastor out in church in Virginia, that was a part of the denomination called the Grace Gospel Fellowship. They're a Mid-Acts dispensational church. So, yeah. Okay. Richard Madsen. Yes. Is this another case of an adopted religious story? An adopted religious story. I'm trying to think of what you mean. What aspect? Sorry, I feel like I keep asking you for clarifying questions. You give them to me, and then I'm no clearer. Sorry. Digital Hammurabi, Beach Price. Are there any more kids planned on the menu? Agenda. Not at the moment. We have 3 amazing kids, and I think that's where we're gonna be. But you know what? Honestly, whatever Megan wants to do, I'm good. I love kids, so. Awesome. I'd love to visit 𝀭. Yeah, it was neat. It was really neat. They reconstructed a lot of it. I mean, a lot. They built up the walls and they kept the bricks white so that you could tell the difference between the originals. But you could see where the tablets were found. It was really cool site. B. Havens, Josh, okay, I'm jealous. Ebla, yep. It was fun. Sorry, guys. I wish I could have taken all of you. This is great. Richard Madsen, DLJ, I am a Christo Buddha Thoro astrologist. That is a mouthful. Enkidu 5, I'm a former Southern Baptist. I think they're more rigid than just plain Baptists. That's been my experience as well. The Messenger reveals, Digital Hammurabi, do you hold to atheism or agnosticism? How about Megan? Good question. I am an agnostic, and I would consider myself to be a soft agnostic. Not a Huxleyan? Is that what it is? So Soli Deo Gloria one day in a side chat asked me, "Are you a Huxleyan agnostic?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know what that means." Oh, Richard says he's gonna save it for digital or for digital fiction. Cool. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So yeah, I went and looked into it. So I would say that I am not an agnostic in the sense that I would say we cannot know, no one could know if there is a God. I would not say that. And I would say that I'm an agnostic, but I haven't really spent a lot of time. Let me say it this way. I hear the question at times, are you agnostic toward Bigfoot in the same way that you're agnostic toward a deity? And that is a good question. I mean, I think that's a good question. Maybe it's not, but I think it is. It sounds like one. And I don't know, right? Because, I think, well, Bigfoot, I don't think that I would call myself agnostic toward Bigfoot, but in the same way. Although, I mean, I guess it's possible there's a Bigfoot, but I don't know. I haven't researched enough about what Bigfoot might be to say, well, that's not possible, right? Like, am I agnostic toward a dog the size of Texas, right? I think, and I'm not a scientist or a biologist, but I don't think that it's possible to have a dog the size of Texas. Like, I don't think from the way the structure of the body of the dog would, like, it wouldn't be able to support it. Boy, I'm really leaving my field. Sorry. So, right. So as far as agnosticism is concerned, sorry, I was trying to figure out where I was going with that. I would say that there could be a God. And I think it would probably take me some time. I'm thinking it through as I'm talking about it. Yeah, I mean, as it stands now, I think it's possible that there could be a God, but I don't see any compelling evidence for that. But this is something that I think I should probably talk about for a second. I see there are a couple more questions. I'm sorry, I'll get to them. I think that some people, when they hear me talk about things like prophecy or the formation of the Pentateuch or like the book of Daniel or something, that they think I have some axe to grind. Like I really want there to not be a God, or I want the God of the Bible to be disproven or something. Like there can't be a God because that flies in the face of my worldview. Paige, I'm sorry if you're watching. I don't give a shit, right? I don't get that. Doesn't not if Paige is watching, but whether there's a God or not, right? That doesn't. If somebody said to me, "Look, we found definitive evidence that there's a God, and it's the God of the Bible," and actually Daniel was written in the 6th century. Awesome. What's the evidence? Let me see. Man, that's fantastic. Got to do a lot of modifications. It's a paradigm shift. But like, I don't like, okay, I don't care. I mean, I think that would be really interesting. And as a matter of fact, I hope that, honestly, I hope that one day somehow I come across a manuscript or a text, or I think of something that goes, oh my gosh, actually, Daniel has to be written in the 6th century, and here's why. Because I would become very wealthy, right? I mean, let's be real here. Like that, I would have no problem with that. That would not bother me. So I'm not. I don't think that. It sounds terrible. I don't think that I care enough. I don't think that it matters to me enough that I have to have some axe to grind, like I'm carrying some banner that I have to go disprove the Bible. It's not. And that's how Megan is as well. Like it's not terribly interesting. What we're doing is we're saying, okay, I'm hearing your argument, not anybody out here listening, but like we hear arguments of people that say, oh, I'm having to read through some additional material to try to fine tune an argument. About Daniel chapter 7 now, because I saw a video that Mike Winger put together where he says some things about Daniel 7 and Daniel 8 that they're just not true, right? They're not accurate. And I know that a lot of people watch his videos, and a lot of people watch my Daniel video, and I think it's something that, had I known about it before I made my Daniel video, I would have addressed it. But now, I think I'm gonna have to make a little supplementary video just so that it's there. But in that video, he talks about, boy, these people that argue for a late date, they're coming to the Bible with their presuppositions. That it has to be there's no supernatural, and so there can't be prophecy. And I mean, I don't think there's, of course, I'm sure there are people out there that do that, but that's not me, and that's not anybody that I know. I actually have a lot of friends in academia that I think they would think it's great. They're evangelical Christians. I think they would think it's great if Daniel were written early, but they've seen the evidence. Like they work with the text. I mean, it's not an issue for them, and it doesn't affect their faith, right? This is the other thing. So this idea that like there's this movement out there that's, at least in the academic world, that there's this movement out there where anytime somebody comes to the biblical text and they're talking about Daniel 9, or they're talking about Ezekiel 26, or the formation of the Pentateuch, or any of this stuff, that there can't be any God, there can't be any God, there can't be any God. I think it's the same thing with like evolution, and I don't know this because I'm not in the sciences, but I can't imagine that there are a lot of biological. I don't know this, but I would suspect, my hunch is that there are very few biological evolutionary biologists that are out there going, evolution has to be true because there can't be a God, so we have to prove evolution true. I don't think that's how they think. So, okay, that was a long answer there. Sorry. Nathan Bedford Forrest, why do you think the Bible literalists suffer most and become atheists after discovering all the errors and contradictions in the Bible? Seems liberal Christians don't care either way. And I think you're exactly right. And it's because of this issue of the hermeneutic, right? It's the hermeneutic that I had, this literal, grammatical, historical hermeneutic, inerrancy, and the way that they understand that, the way that I understood that. I feel comfortable saying they because I was one of them. So, I read an article today because a good friend of ours, RC Apologist, who I just want to say I think seems like a super nice guy, and we've chatted. There was a Twitter thread or whatever going on that Megan said, could you like jump in on this? And it was about who wrote the Pentateuch, and he cited an article by a guy named Christensen. It was a joint article. Can't remember the other author was, but talked about Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch. And the article doesn't really lay out in any way anything that I would consider to be evidence. It's basically stating you have to view the Bible you have to view the Bible as a spiritual text, and your hermeneutic has to say, I take the whole of the Bible in its interpretive, in the interpretive framework. I have to understand the whole of the Bible as being the Word of God. And in that sense, then, the Bible can interpret itself, right, in different places, and it can answer questions. I guess that's a presupposition, right? You have to begin with that in order for the rest of the system to work. And I think that when you talk to people like I was, people that didn't really engage with the variety of genres in the biblical text, and really held to a position that said this word has to be, in a very literal sense, divinely inspired, in a very narrow sense, divinely inspired. And if it's divinely inspired, that there can't be any errors. And so if that's the case, then if you find errors, the whole thing falls apart. And I think that's what happens. Liberal Christians, for my anecdotal evidence, in my experience, they're not hung up on that sort of thing. So, Beach Price, is it possible for you to be hired on to transliterate ancient texts that are in the basements of museums? Yeah, this is what Assyriologists do. Well, at least for cuneiform text. There are lots of tablets sort of floating around. I've talked about this, I'm sure, before. Actually, a friend of mine, he got a grant, like a small grant, to go out, I think, to Ohio, maybe it was somewhere out west, to go to a small museum because a curator out there said, hey, we have this small collection of cuneiform tablets, and we need somebody to come out here and read them so that we can put little, cards, put labels and talk about what they are. So we'll fund you to come out here and do that. So yeah, I mean, that sort of stuff happens. And what they do is they read the text, they make editions of them, is what that's called. If anybody wants to see work that I did on Sumerian tablets, you can go to our website, www.digitalhammurabi.com, and under something, maybe publications. I'm not publications. I don't know what it would be. I don't know where she's got it. My dissertation is up there, and you can download it for free or whatever. But at the end, I have an edition of, well, throughout the dissertation, I do editions of texts, tablets, Sumerian liturgical tablets. But at the end, there's a bigger tablet, Proc B471, that I do an edition of. And so you can see, and I have a transliteration of the text, and then a translation, and then commentary on it. So you can check that out if you want. Any good stories about 𝀭No, we were only there for the day. It was a day trip. So we did that when we were in Syria. So maybe you're less jealous now because I was only there for the day. But, I excavated with an amazing team out at the site of 𝀭which is about an hour and 15 minutes, something like that, east of Aleppo. And we had one day off a week, and we would go and we'd look at a site. Went to Palmyra, went to 𝀭went to, where did we go? I don't remember all the different sites. I got them written down somewhere. But, yeah, so we took little day trips to them on our day off. So, sorry, let's see. Nathan Bedford Forrest. Do you know a Dr. Jonah Connor? I don't. Author of All That Is Wrong with the Bible. I don't. I'll have to look that up. Thank you. There's a guy named Dr. DiMattei that's, I mean, it sounds like a similar style of book, like All the Contradictions in the Bible or something. It might not be the same. Sorry if it's not. Okay. Messenger reveals, your background fascinates me. I think you could better help me understand and articulate my own beliefs. That'd be cool. Yeah, if anybody hasn't seen, the Messenger reveals was on Scholar Fiction's channel, and really nice guy, very sharp guy, like in a smart way. So yeah, it was a really nice conversation. Okay. Is it possible that all religions, including the Sumerian tablets and their belief of the Anunnaki, all lead to a similar origin of creation or creator? Yeah, I mean, that's possible. And as a matter of fact, I suspect that if I ever did come back to faith, and this is just from where I am now and my experience, I suspect that what I would hold to is that there is the divine, whatever that might mean, and that it's been the same divine that people have been interacting with. And so when you see, for example, Mesopotamian religion, if we want to call it that, you know, they're interacting with the same divine that the Israelites are interacting with, that, you know, modern day Catholics are interacting with. Of course, I have no idea if that's true, but that's probably where I would go at first, at least. But who knows? I don't. I'm assuming that Nathan didn't put at Digital Hammurabi before this because he didn't want me to read that. So good advice there by Enkidu5. At Digital Hammurabi, human-powered machine. In the future, could you address canonization of the Old Testament? Yeah. Did I talk about it in... So I have a series on textual criticism on the website or on the YouTube channel. And I'm trying to remember if I got into... I didn't get into canonization specifically, I don't think. Yeah, I can do that. You talking about, like, you're probably referring more to, like, post-church, you know, that the actual official church canonization of the, like, why don't we have Susanna or Baal and the Dragon or something in the book of Daniel. I'm assuming that's what you mean. So yeah. Okay. Oops. Richard Madsen, is it possible that all religions concerned with an eternal progenitor God are correct, but practitioner view has been twisted over time and pride allows that to continue? Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, this is this idea of all religions coming from one religion even plays into, I've seen it play into the Christian doctrine, right? So the question, for example, one of the big questions that really people wrestle with, that holds to this sort of narrow interpretation of the biblical text. I don't mean narrow in a demeaning way in any way to anybody that's listening. It is a narrow view, and I would think that people that hold that view would probably take some pride in the fact that that's a narrow view. So, but this idea that the flood story, for example, clearly predates the writing of the biblical text, the writing of the biblical flood story, and borrows heavily from it, and that there's so much intertextuality between the ancient Near Eastern texts and the biblical texts, which come later. And so that's a difficulty, right? And so one of the ways that that gets addressed, and I've had conversations about this with friends of mine during my doctoral work, is that, oh, well, maybe this was, for example, the flood story. Maybe there was an original flood story that God gave to whomever, and Satan corrupted it, right? And that's where you get these like Sumerian spin-offs. But the true story is what's found in the Bible, right? And again, that's sort of the same, they're interacting with the same divine source, but spinning off of it in a different way. Rembrandt, how did you transfer away from evangelical beliefs, and did that affect your relationship with relatives and friends? Two very good questions. Yes, it did, extensively, actually. And I'll need to take another drink before I talk about it. This is really good. So, yeah, I'll refer you for the like in-depth stuff. You can go to our channel and look at from, I just forget the name, Evangelical to Agnostic, an Academic's Journey, I think is what it's called. But sort of just to sum up, I was an evangelical Christian from like 5 or 6 years old up until a little after, right around my 30, 31, somewhere around there. So yeah, it was more like 25 years, 24, 25 years. Let's say 25. It's easier. And I was associate pastor of a church, chaplain candidate in the Air Force. I have a bachelor's degree from Liberty University, very evangelical school. I have a master's in theology from Capital Bible Seminary, another very evangelical school. Excuse me, a conservative evangelical school. And when I got to Hopkins, and I had to engage with the texts and the ancient Near East as a whole, and the historical and archaeological data that was there, as we were discussing earlier, I had a very narrow view of the biblical text, and it just unraveled because of it. So that's how I walked away from evangelical beliefs. I've thought about this actually a little bit because like I have evangelical friends that remain evangelicals even though they've gone through the same training that I've gone through. And I think the difference is that they had their crisis of faith at a much earlier date than I did. This is me hypothesizing. Okay, so I suspect that because the attack came at an earlier time, that's a bad way to, but they would think of it as an attack. The crisis of faith, whatever, happened at an earlier time. It happened at a time when the attacks on one's faith or the challenges to one's faith might not have been as strong because the data wasn't so thorough. That it allowed time to sort of overcome that smaller hill, and then as you're confronted with individual things as you move forward, for example, you come up against Ezekiel 26, you can find evangelical answers to Ezekiel 26. I don't think they're good, but you can find those types of evangelical answers. Now that being said, my evangelical friends wouldn't worry about Ezekiel 26. But the answers are there. Like you can read somebody like Gleason Archer, and Gleason Archer has, his model that he puts forth to answer it. I don't think it's a good one. I don't think it answers the questions. Actually, Daniel Ray sent me part of a commentary talking about what the idea that he brought up about the plunder, the spoil. And again, that's another avenue trying to provide a rationale for why Ezekiel doesn't fail. Again, I disagree with it. I think it's a fine argument, right? But I don't think it answers the questions. I don't think it accounts for the data points, but I think it's a fine argument. I obviously don't think any. I think Daniel's actually a very intelligent guy, and I think he makes good arguments. So I just don't agree with him, a lot of them. So yes, and did it hurt my relationship with my relatives and friends? Sorry, I'm going through these questions too slowly. Yes, my family is it hasn't been great. It hasn't been great. All right. Where is the screenshot of the mountains from? It's I don't know specifically where. It's Iran. Sorry, guys. But I was trying to find something. The mountains, the Zagros Mountains, off to the east of Mesopotamia, because that's that's the direction they'd have been going in the story. The messenger reveals. Every time I scroll down, it like scrolls all the way down. Did evolution give you? Oh wait, I think I skipped. There it is. Thank you for your kind words. I look forward to our next conversation in the near future. It'll be good. It'll be good. And actually, the messenger reveals, if I read his email correctly, and I may not have, but it sounded like he made a suggestion of having a bunch of different. Okay, let me back up. Digital Fiction, the channel that Skylar and I have. One of the things that we want to do is have Dr. Josh's court, or I don't know what we're going to call it, but Skylar came up with this idea that, and I think it's really clever, that, I'm like up here in the screen, and I'm like the judge, and I sit there, and I don't do an awful lot of talking. I don't think in this role, I don't do a lot of talking until the end. But it's like a debate format, I guess, and you have like let's say a Calvinist and an Arminianist. Calvinist and Arminian come in, and they both present their case. And Skylar acts as an advocate for both of them. So if while they're debating, one has an ad hominem attack or something, he would say, "Objection, Your Honor, that's an ad hominem attack." And I say sustained or whatever. Great, now I got to learn what all the different fallacies are. Damn it. Okay, but that's fine. It's good for me to learn the specifics of all the different fallacies. But then at the end, I give a ruling. It's just going to be fun. But anyway, the messenger reveals, I think in his email, said something like, we have a show where we do something like that, but we just have a whole bunch of people of different theistic viewpoints come on the show for, I don't know, 10 minutes or something, present their case, and then the next person comes on and presents their case, next person comes on and presents their case, and then at the end we decide who made the most convincing case, if I'm remembering the email correctly. But I thought it was pretty clever. Nathan Bedford Forrest. Did evolution give you bigger than average ears? Have you ever considered ear reduction surgery? I was actually called Dumbo when I was in elementary school, so thank you for bringing that up. It's really nice. I can wiggle them. Well, not wiggle, but I can move them. Hold on, let me see. And there you go. I feel like we probably lost like 9 viewers right there. Richard Madsen, not a question. You are actual agnostic. You are going to be fine. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Okay. So Richard says, call it Josh's Christian Court. That would be funny. Yummy Yummy Zuki. No matter how mean I am, I will never be an Arminianist. That's good. That's good. I have to use that. Can I use that? Is that legal? Judge Joshi has a more of a snappy ring to it. Oh, yes. Judge Joshi. All right. Instead of Judge Judy. That was good. Um, Later, Dr. Josh's religious rulings. Not bad. You should like seriously. You guys should email these to Skylar because he's the creative genius. Uh, Messenger reveals Skylar said he was going to have me back on Skylar Fiction Show with you and he to go through question and answer. We also had another email to be on Digital Fiction as well, just as you described. Cool. I remembered it. Grow your hair long, Josh. It hides them. I know. It's even more pronounced, I think, when I do the high and tight. I'm okay with it. I'm comfortable in my skin. So, all right. Well, guys, I'm down at the bottom. And, of course, if you have more questions, go ahead and fire them in there now. But we've been going about 2 hours. And this is always fun for me. I really do enjoy it. Yummy Yamizuki says, you can legally use it if if you get my permission. Cool. Thank you. Wait, was that you giving me your permission? Or was that just like a hypothetical thing? Were I to give you my permission, you could use it. But I really appreciate you guys. Let me keep forgetting I can just look at my phone and see how many people are watching. I mean, I guess you could guys just tell me, but it says we got 42 watching and 50 likes. How is that possible? I'm just kidding. I know how it's possible. It's awesome. It's because you guys are awesome. And she said, I do have permission. Thank you. Beach says, thank you, Beach. And thank you all for watching. This has been great. Oh, Nathan said, see my last question above. Did I miss it? Oh, I see. Why do you think Jesus quotes from the Greek Septuagint, such as when he entered the synagogue and read Isaiah 61 and added the words to give sight to the blind, etc., etc.? So I have an answer that I want to give, but the academic whatever. Let me say this. Every stream that I do, everything that I say, I always pretend that my advisor is going to hear this, is going to hear it, and he's going to know the right answer. This is one of the things that happens when you go through a PhD program. So I'm always, even if I think I know the answer, or if I have an opinion, but I haven't read the secondary literature on it more recently, I tend to hold off. And I do this a lot with New Testament stuff because it's not what I focus on. So let me table that in my brain, and maybe if you email me, God, I'm so terrible at those emails. I'm almost reticent to say not to have you email me. I will try to remember. Excuse me, to look. Thank you guys. Did you ever? So MJT 532. Did you ever try to be critical of the Bible in an anonymous manner, not revealing your identity? Or does anonymity make it impossible to attract any kind of a following? I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I never planned on doing this. As a matter of fact, when I first started, I was emailing Aaron Ra and Kyle over at NonSec and just saying, like, hey, I hear you guys debating people all the time and they're using some bad arguments from the Hebrew. If you ever want to bounce things off of me, let me know and we can talk about it. And Kyle said, and I did answer a question for Aaron about the circle of the earth in Isaiah, but oh, sorry, Yummy Yamizuki. But what was I saying? Oh, so really, I never intended to do this. When I emailed Kyle called and said, "You're coming on our show on Sunday. We're going to talk." And then when I did that, that's when Steve asked me if we were going to start a channel and Megan said yes. So here we are. So yeah, I don't know. Thank you, Katie. I appreciate that. Okay, guys. Well, I will go ahead and end it here. And I just really appreciate you guys watching. This is always a lot of fun for me. So, yeah. Have a great night. And I will see you guys, I guess, Monday for the premiere of the slavery video. So I'll probably put that premiere thing up tomorrow, maybe. I don't know when you put premiere stuff up, but I will see you guys then, unless I do something tomorrow. Maybe I'll do something tomorrow. I guess it depends on if I get really bored or if you guys want to see something. If you guys want me to do a particular stream, shoot me an email, let me know. Or Twitter me, whatever that means. All right, guys. Try to do this with one hand. Until next time, resist poor scholarship. Always ask, how do you know that? Good night.